Hello everyone, my name is Aldas, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about who do I think is making more mistakes, Sebastian Vettel or Ferrari. Now if you enjoyed the content, then don't forget to subscribe and let's jump into the video. Now I'm recording this post Monza 2018, and obviously if you watched the Grand Prix a couple days ago, then you know that it was a bit of a Ferrari meltdown after starting 1-2 in their home Grand Prix, a Grand Prix which they have not won since 2010. They ended up finishing 2nd and 4th. Now that is simply not good enough considering the fact that they have had the fastest car since Austria, since definitely since the midpoint of the season. They've had the fastest car and really should have won that race 1-2 quite comfortably. But there was obviously the collision between Sebastian and Hamilton, which I'll get to in a second, and there have been lots of questions over whether or not is Vettel making too many mistakes. He's been given a very quick car this season. Maybe it wasn't as quick as the Mercedes at the start of the season, but the Ferrari development has been absolutely incredible, and it is definitely the fastest car now, and he should be leading this championship, but he isn't, and there have been loads of mistakes that he's making, and he has come under heavy fire from the media, from fans, even from Ferrari fans, who are claiming that he's just making too many mistakes. But I'm going to be looking at today, is it actually Vettel that's making the mistakes, or is it Ferrari? Is this a deeper problem than just Sebastian Vettel and the way he is? Now, first of all, I'd like to kick off with Sebastian Vettel. So obviously this season, he's definitely in the hunt for the championship, second year in a row. Now, last year, I think I'd consider the cars to be 50-50 between Ferrari and Mercedes. Now, obviously this season, he has the fastest car. I think that is pretty much widely known. And he is perceived to be making a lot of mistakes this season. Now, we have a quick rundown through his season so far. He started the year off very strong, taking 2 wins from the first 2 Grand Prix. And then there was a bit of a rocky period where Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes came back a little bit. But then we get to Baku. Now, Baku was the first and it wasn't a major mistake. It was a bit of a judgment of error maybe. While running second behind Valtteri Bottas in a race that he was leading actually at the start, he locked up after the safety car into the first corner and basically absolutely flat spotted his tyres, handing the win over to Valtteri Bottas and then eventually Lewis Hamilton after Valtteri had a problem. But yeah, he ended up, Sebastian Vettel locked up into the first corner and ended up finishing 4th. Now, in my opinion, that he was very quick that weekend, and perhaps, the best he could have got was second, but maybe he could have overtook Valtteri Bottas. In my opinion, I think he definitely would have had second. I think, at the very least, that is where he would have finished, and he ended up dropping into 4th, and that was the first little sign of a bit of a mistake from Vettel, but there was definitely more to come. Now, next we come to France and Paul Ricard, where there was a very controversial crash between Sebastian Vettel and Valtteri Bottas at the first corner of the first lap, and it was just a misjudgment by Vettel, and it was definitely a mistake by Vettel. He ended up crashing out Valtteri Bottas and himself, but not completely out of the race. They did, get back to the pits and then come back through the field, with Sebastian Vettel eventually making it back up to 5th. Now again, I think he easily could have had 3rd, if not 2nd. I think he might have had the pace over Valtteri that weekend, but 3rd was definitely at the least, and ended up finishing 5th. So again, lots of points wasted there as well. Another sign of a Vettel error. Now, by far, his biggest misjudgment was in Germany. This was a massive one. This was a very big and very costly mistake as well, while leading the race. And there is no ifs or buts here. He would have won that race if he did not crash out or anything. I don't think, even Hamilton in the rain, I don't think he would have actually overtook Vettel. I think Vettel would have had enough, but he ended up crashing out while leading the race. Now, straight away, that is 25 points gone. And again, a massive amount of points, 25 points. I mean, if you look at where they are now, 30 points apart, that's a huge amount. That is a huge amount. And yeah, that was definitely a Vettel error, just a driving error. But there was definitely something that it definitely could have been avoided earlier in the race, but I'll talk about that later. And then, of course, now we come to Monza, halfway through the season, or just over halfway. And at the first lap, again, he got a little bit caught out, actually, trying to overtake Kimi Räikkönen coming up to, I think it was either the 3rd or the 4th corner. And Lewis Hamilton saw a gap, he jumped for it, and they went into the corner, and 2 into 1 just did not go, and Vettel was the loser. He ended up spinning out and having to work his way again back up from the field, while Hamilton won the race. In this case, he finished in 4th. But if I'm being honest, I mean, if nothing happened there, Vettel would have won that race. He had the pace over Räikkönen hands down, and I think Räikkönen couldn't hold off for Hamilton, but Vettel absolutely could have. So again, maybe even a win. At the very least, he would have had 2nd, but maybe he just let go a win in Monza. Now, when you look at all of these mistakes, he has come under a lot of fire this season, especially now after Monza, and not just from the media, not from Mercedes fans or anything. He's coming under fire from Ferrari fans, a little bit unfairly in my opinion, Because in my opinion, I think this is a massive problem, not with Vettel. I mean, he definitely has a massive portion of the blame for sure. He's not the complete package at the moment this season. But there is a much bigger problem with the management at Ferrari, who don't seem to be able to make the hard decisions to win this championship. I mean, if we all go back all the way to Germany, despite Vettel making that mistake, he was under pressure from Hamilton, and that is why he spun out and made that mistake and crashed out in Germany. But earlier in the race, he was right behind Kimi Raikkonen for so many laps, costing him so much time, which eventually put the pressure onto him. And the Ferrari management should have made it quicker for Raikkonen to move over, and they weren't. They didn't have. There's been obviously a lot of talk about, is he going to be a number 2 driver, Kimi Raikkonen to Sebastian Vettel? And in my opinion, it's almost too late now. They need to put him as a number 2 driver now. And in Germany, he should have been moved over much quicker for Vettel to have a much bigger lead over Hamilton during the wet phase of the race. And they put the pressure on Vettel. Yes, he made a mistake. Absolutely, he made a mistake, Sebastian Vettel. But it was Ferrari that put him under that pressure, and definitely have to take a massive portion of the blame for not managing their drivers good enough. Now, as for Monza, it is very clear. I mean, if you look from qualifying, we're over halfway point of the season, and Valtteri Bottas and Kimi Raikkonen, the two Finns, are not going to win the title. Simple as that. And Mercedes have seen it. Mercedes know it. They used Bottas and won the race. Got a 1-3 for the team, which is a great result in Monza of all places. And then you look at Ferrari, who clearly should have, and this is starting from qualifying. I mean, they did not give Sebastian Vettel the toe to give him pole position and put him in trouble from the start, And again, they should have put him out behind Kimi Raikkonen to get the toe, to get pole position. He again was very quick throughout the entire weekend and would have definitely got in front of Raikkonen in terms of qualifying if he had the toe. And they put him in danger in the race. Now, obviously, again, it was another, it wasn't completely Ferrari's fault. And in my opinion, it wasn't completely Sebastian's fault. It was just one of those incidents where he ended up obviously colliding with Hamilton. But in my opinion, due to Ferrari's mistakes and their poor management this season, he was put into that position. He's not completely blameless, but Ferrari have to look at themselves and have to seriously, they have to look at themselves and think, how are we going to win this championship? Because we're doing something wrong. And they're handing this championship to Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes on a silver platter. I mean, just making these mistakes that, a 5-year-old in the grandstand can probably see that, Sebastian Vettel should have been in front by qualifying, and it could cost them the championship this year. Now, just to end this, what should happen? In my opinion, Ferrari seriously need to get a grip of themselves, and if they want to win this championship, which they need to, because they have not won in 10 years. I think Kimi Raikkonen was the last one to win a championship for Ferrari back in 2007, over 10 years now even. They need to get a grip of themselves, and they need to tell Kimi Raikkonen, who isn't even a confirmed Ferrari driver, that he is going to be playing a number 2 role. They need to focus on Vettel and give him the best chance. They need to use Kimi Raikkonen's pace and form to defend against Lewis Hamilton and the threat of Mercedes, and something that they have not been using this season. And, almost put pressure off Vettel. And the sooner they begin to do that, which they absolutely need to post Monza, which was a disaster for them, they need to just sort themselves out and realize that the only way to win the championship is to have a number 1 driver and a number 2 driver. Mercedes know it. It's not public, but everyone can see it. And it clearly is working for them, as they finished 1-3 in Monza and now have a 30-point lead in the Drivers' Championship with Lewis Hamilton. Simple as that. So there you go, guys. That is my opinion. But what do you guys think? Do you think Ferrari are actually not to blame and it is just Vettel's fault? Is he just making too many mistakes? And who do you think in the end will be the F1 2018 World Drivers' Champion? Lewis Hamilton or Sebastian Vettel? Comment in the box below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Thank you.